right, so up to this point, we know what JavaScript is and what JavaScript is used for. And of course, you took the core JavaScript class, so you actually know how to write JavaScript. We know what HTML is. So what we're going to learn now is how to actually include our JavaScript in our HTML pages so that we can enhance them. All right, so what you see here is just a simple HTML file. Um, there shouldn't be anything that is foreign to you here, just our dot type. So ask what type of HTML version of HTML am I using here? If you said 5, you are correct, and we can tell because it doesn't have all that extra gibbly gobbly stuff in here. All right, here's our HTML tags, here's our head tag, and here's our body. All right, so let's say we wanted to include some JavaScript in our page. Well, it's very simple. What we're going to do is add the script tag to our page. All right. So what happens is when JavaScript interprets it, we're going to get into how it executes in a later video, but it's going to see this script tag and start to interpret everything in here as JavaScript. All right. So let's just say we want to display an alert on the page. Hello world. We could simply do that. All right. So let's run it. And you can see that our hello world popped up in our alert window. All right. So what happened is when I ran the page, it loaded the JavaScript. Excuse me, it loaded the HTML page. It got to here, saw the script tag. It went inside the script tag to execute that script. It saw the alert command and displayed the alert in the JavaScript window. All right. So this is what we call inline JavaScript, right? And you will still see some of this, but it is not the preferred way to do it. Our preferred way is to use external scripts. All right. So let's talk about including external scripts real quick. All right. So and before I do, let me point out one more thing. In some older versions of HTML, you were required to use the type attribute to signify that your script was JavaScript. So you'll see a lot of older code that has this type attribute in there. All right, so HTML5 is no longer required, but if they're using an older version, it is. All right. All right, so back to including external JavaScript files. All right, so what we want to first do is create an external JavaScript file. So we're going to go here, and I'm just going to move my alert code over to this script file. All right. Now let's save the bad boy. And later on in these videos, you see me using the mouse a lot right now just to show you the clicks that I'm taking. But later on, you won't see that because I will be using keyboard shortcuts. All right. Now, I'm going to name my script index.js. And the reason I'm naming it index is because it's going to go on the index page. And that name's going to change based on, the script that you're writing and its purpose. But for now, index will suffice. And the extension, which is .js. So we include the extension .js for JavaScript files. Okay? I'm going to put it in the same directory for right now. All right? Now, how do I make the connection between my index.html page and my index.js script? All right? So I'm going to use the same script tag, but I'm going to modify it. All right? I'm going to specify the path to my HTML file. To my script file. All right. So to do that, I'm going to use the source attribute. All right. And I'm just going to say index.js. All right. So this says the source for this script is index.js. All right. Now if I run it, we should still see the same effect. Yes, we did. There's our alert displaying hello world. So what happened here? The page loaded. It saw this script tag. It saw the source attribute on it, and it went out, found that source file, and loaded it into the HTML to display it on the screen. So we got the same effect as before, but our code is included in an external JavaScript file. All right. Now, how do we define this path? Right here, I just used index.js. All right, well, what that means is that this file is going to be found in the same directory as the one as the index as the HTML page is running in. All right, so they're relative to each other, they're in the same location. All right, but you'll often see the files stored in a different location. Generally, you'll see a JS folder or a scripts folder or something. So let's create scripts. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to that directory. As soon as I remember where I put it. And I'm going to put a folder, subfolder in here called JS. All right. Now I'm going to move this index into that folder. All right. So my script file is no longer in the same directory as my index.html file. It's in a subfolder called JS. All right. So if we try and run that now, what are we going to see? Notice we get nothing because it can't find the JS file in the location that we specify. So we need to specify the path to that file. So since it's in the JS folder, we're going to specify JS as the subfolder relative to where the HTML file is running. And you should remember relative versus absolute addresses from your HTML class. If not, there will be a document in the supplements folder. Explain that a little bit more. But so this says look in the JS subfolder and find index.js. So if we run it again now, our alert shows again because it can now find that script again. All right. All right. So what is the reason we want to move it to the external file? Well, it makes it easier as our job. This was a really small JavaScript, but as our JavaScript increases in size and complexity, it allows us to easier maintain our script files and reuse them actually, because these script files can be reused in multiple pages. All right. So let's talk about a couple other things before we end this video. There's a couple points that I want you to know about here. One of the benefits of using the external script file is that JavaScript or the browser can actually cache the external script. And what that means is it can store a copy of that script. So instead of having to go out and reload that script on subsequent pages, it can look in the cache and load that script if it's already been loaded. Now what this does is it makes it faster for our page to load because we don't have to go look for it from the external server anymore. We can just pull it from the browser's cache. So we get a speed up as a benefit by using external scripts as well. All right. Now, what else do I want you to know? Well, first, I want you to know that we can use multiple instances of script within a single HTML page. What does that mean? Well, let's say I had a different script that I wanted to use called validate.js. I can also easily include that script by using an additional script tag. So now instead of just index.js being loaded on this page, it will also load validate.js as well. So I have two scripts that are running for this particular HTML page and exposing different functionalities. And we can pretty much guess what validate would probably do. All right. And you'll see this a lot. You'll see pages with multiple script tags included. All right. Now, the second thing I want you to be aware of is that each use of script can present inline JavaScript or use an external script file, but not both. All right. So that means that I cannot do this. I'm free to do this with multiple script files. I'm also free to do this. Right? But what I can't do is use inline script and also specify a script file. So I can't do both simultaneously. All right. All right. What else? It's common to use script elements, can't type today, in the head tag, but it's not required. All right, so what does that mean? That means that a lot of times you'll see these scripts. Notice I have them in the body. All right, a lot of times you'll see them included in the head tag. All right, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, that's absolutely acceptable to define them within the head. Right, the reason I put them in the body and what I want you to do is most developers now are putting them right before the end of the, are putting them right before the ending body tag. Why? Because what happens when we run a page, right? So we know that when we load an HTML page, it starts, the browser starts parsing it at the top and works its way down. All right, so if I have these scripts in the head tag, once it hits this head, it is going to stop, pause, go out and get that JavaScript, execute it, then return back to parsing the HTML. All right, so what can happen is if we put it at the end of the body tag, that means that the page can load completely before we start to load the scripts. So it gives the user a perception that the page is loading faster. All right, so that's why we put it down at the bottom. All right, and lastly, try not to use too many external scripts in the same HTML page. Why? Because it will hurt performance. All right, so there's no tried or true way of knowing how many scripts, but later on I'll point out some tools that can actually look at your HTML pages and look at the JavaScript and determine what effect they're having on performance or whatnot. All right, so now you know all about how to include your JavaScripts into your page. Take care.